I don't like how some chefs jual diri cuman supaya bisa on the list.
Oke.
And I don't like how popular the list is sampai orang tuh percaya ini 100% the 50 best restaurants in Asia. Kenapa sih restoran kayak gini nggak ada di list itu? The point is that it's possible to bypass the system. At best, bypass the system. At worst, corrupt the system by our people, by the judges. Orang-orang nyarinya beda. Ada orang nyarinya storytelling, orang nyarinya poem, orang nyarinya the whole experience.
It depends on the voter dong.
Exactly, that's why it's so subjective. That's why the list is bullshit. Tapi gue yang paling kesel banget dikasih roti, terus dikasih olive oil infused sama lemon. Cuman abis itu dikasih puisi man di sebelahnya. Ada kertas isinya puisi tentang roti. Gue bilang, entai lah nih restoran. What am I supposed to do with that poem man? Should I cry while I eat this bread? Did you know that Noma blocked me on Instagram?
What? Hey guys, gua mau kasih tahu kalian kalau Ray Jensen Radio Podcast lagi kolaborasi dengan Toffin yang baru aja launching aplikasinya Toffin App. Aplikasi F&B pertama dengan 7 fitur unggulan yang pastinya bisa membantu kalian untuk menjalani bisnis F&B kalian menjadi lebih mudah, lebih murah, dan efisien. Nah, buat kalian yang mau belanja mesin kopi, gelato, kitchen equipment, ataupun ingredients apapun, kalian bisa belanja di Toffin App. Dan bisa pakai kode referral dari gua, RJR Toffin, RJRTOFFIN. Kalian bisa dapetin diskon sebesar 2,5%. Lumayan banget apalagi kalau lagi setup bisnis baru. Syarat dan ketentuan berlaku. Jangan lupa download Toffin App di App Store dan juga di Play Store. Hello everybody, thank you very much for tuning in to the show today. Kali ini kita akan ngobrol bareng dengan orang yang sedikit misterius mungkin. Dan gue yakin kalian banyak banget yang belum tahu dia siapa. Namanya Dwi Satrio. Kalau menurut gue dia adalah seorang elite diner yang kerjaannya makan di restoran keliling-keliling dunia untuk nyobain makanan restoran-restoran award winning yang ada di list penghargaan-penghargaan dunia seperti fine dining yang ada di Michelin dan juga 50 best restoran. Menurut gue, khususnya orang Indonesia sih kayaknya nggak ada yang lebih sering makan di restoran Michelin atau 50 best selain Dwi Satrio ini. Dia elite diner global lah kalau gue bilang. Nah, gue pertama kali ketemu dia itu pertanyaan pertama gue adalah, lu tuh siapa sih? Kenapa seorang Indonesia yang doyan makan doang bisa ngiter-ngiter Jakarta makan bakmi sama Anthony Bourdain? Itu cita-cita gue bro, kenapa lu yang dipilih gitu kan. Dan juga bagaimana sih rasanya sebagai orang yang keliling suka makan tapi ternyata diblok sama salah satu restoran terbaik di dunia. Oke, podcastnya panjang dan banyak jadi dibagi jadi 2 part. So stay tune juga buat part 2 secepatnya kita akan upload. Hope you guys enjoy the show guys. Jangan lupa subscribe di Ray Jensen Radio Podcast di YouTube, Spotify, and all other podcast platform. Juga follow kita di Instagram dan di TikTok di Ray Jensen Radio. And please welcome Dwi Satrio. Enjoy the show. Hi man.
Hello.
Aduh, so glad to finally meet you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome
Nice
to the
meet
show.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for the champagne.
Ya.
Delicious.
Cuman buat pelumas omongan aja biar lebih lancar aja ngomongnya kita kali ya.
Oke. Buat yang belum tahu nih Dwi, jadi ini kayaknya episode yang tahu lu tuh kayaknya the people in the know aja di F&B Indonesia.
Apa tuh?
Lu ngerti gak maksud gua kalau
Enggak,
gitu?
gue gak ngerti.
Karena begini guys, jadi gua aja sampai sekarang begitu datang Dwi gua masih nanya, gua harus manggil lu sebagai apa, right? Food writer? Not really.
No.
Iya.
Kayak yang gue bilang cuman orang rakus, gendut, dan kolesterol tinggi.
Yes, yeah,
someone who
okay.
likes to eat, udah gitu aja sih.
Iya, pokoknya lu lihat, boleh pause dulu, cek Instagramnya Dwi Satrio, khususnya yang chef nih, sama restoranter yang lagi mau ngejar-ngejar 50 best atau Michelin gitu segala macam. Cek dulu IG-nya,
Not
baru
that I
lihat.
support those entities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nah kita akan ngebahas itu juga.
Oh iya, sip.
Okay, this will be a fun podcast.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Lu kan sekarang tinggal di Sweden nih, biar jadi orang dapat konteksnya dulu kan. What do you do there?
Gua kerja di perusahaan Swedia, semacam management consultant / marketing agency.
Oke.
Background gue emang itu. Pas di Indonesia gue punya 2 perusahaan IT, semacam startup gitu. Cuman gue udah cabut tahun 2019 pada saat gue pindah ke Swedia. Jadi sekarang gue full time hidup, tinggal dan kerja di Swedia, di Stockholm lebih tepatnya.
Oke. Kalau lu udah ngecek Instagramnya tadi Dwi Satrio, lu pasti lihat semuanya, hampir semuanya tuh banyak banget postingan makanan fine dining. Right?
Maybe.
Fine dining
I don't know.
atau apa, award winning restaurant let's say. Ya kan? Gimana mulainya, men?
Mulai gue makan.
Yes, soalnya gue lihat lu Instagram follower juga nggak gitu banyak, ya kan? Terus, and I think you prefer it that way.
Ya,
sebenarnya.
it's not my intention juga untuk pakai, buzzwords kayak viral,
Yes.
hidden gem, and best.
Hidden gem, authentic,
those
artisan,
exactly.
that's word.
It's not my intention juga gitu. Maksudnya, I just do it for myself.
Yeah.
And then kebetulan ada beberapa orang yang actually maybe passionnya makan juga and actually follow juga. So it's like it's not something that I concentrate on trying to grow that much juga gitu.
Jadi untuk konteksnya guys, pertama kali gue lihat Dwi itu di CNN. Karena waktu itu dia lagi nemenin Anthony Bourdain makan mie di Jakarta. Ya,
almarhum.
Kan? Ya, almarhum the great Anthony Bourdain. Terus karena gue big fan banget Anthony Bourdain, acara Parts Unknown sama No Reservations, gue nanya teman-teman chef gue, ini orang siapa? Iya kan?
Nobody, no one.
Food industry kayak media guy kita kenal lah gitu kan, chef kita kenal. Siapa nih orang? Kenapa dia yang nemenin Anthony Bourdain?
Nggak worth it ya. Kenapa gue?
Terus abis itu baru si Respati bilang dia Dwi man. Kerjaannya makan di restoran fancy keliling dunia. Gue kayak, hah? Ada orang kayak begitu? Apa dia dari media mana gitu? Karena I assume yang begitu, ya lu have a food media di mana gitu kan di Indonesia. Terus enggak, orangnya asik kok, santai, gue kenal. Gue kayak, man, gue harus kenal nih orang, tapi kita belum pernah ketemu.
Belum.
Dan
udah lama juga itu 2017.
Dan waktu gue bikin podcast, gue nanya lagi sama temen gue itu si Respati. Gue bilang si Dwi mana? Gue mau bikin podcast, gue mau ngajak ngobrol. Dia tinggal di Swedia men sekarang. Apa? So background story dulu. Dari mulai dari kapan lu mulai enjoy atau exploring and share tentang pengalaman makan lu?
It's a bit tough ya, kayak mulai dari mana gue mulai suka makan. I guess ya bokap nyokap gue juga suka banget makan. They love to eat out gitu lah. Jadi pada saat dari kecil they always try to me and my brother, my older brother, kakak gue, to always try new food, new restaurants di Jakarta. And I think that sort of started my interest in just food in general.
Can you remember earliest restaurant?
I can't, gak bisa. Cuman I remember back in the days, nyobain restoran Brazil pertama di Kemang, zaman dulu banget. Mungkin nggak tahu, namanya Rio. Zaman dulu banget.
Nggak tahu.
Makan Rio, makan restoran Korea Gang Sulai.
Oh my god.
Ya kan, zaman dulu banget gitu. Jadi kayak they always try to introduce us to like new cuisines, new types of food. Even when we travel as well, they also love to travel. Jadi kayak ngajak-ngajak kita untuk experience.
Jadi
new
dari
stuff.
kecil udah dibiasain, tapi kan biasa anak kecil nggak mau nyobain aneh-aneh.
Gue pas kecil susah banget makan. Gue cuma suka nasi sama bawang goreng. Pas gue umur 3-5 tahun gue cuma suka itu. Cuman I guess as time goes by, we try a lot more new things. And I guess it just sort of built within me aja gitu. Until dari SD, SMP, SMA, kuliah, gue di Amerika, gue juga. That was 2007, 2011. Those were the days of Food Channel, Anthony Bourdain, and Andrew Zimmern segala macam. Jadi kayak I consume a lot of food media juga. My roommate, who's still my brother until now, namanya Anthony. He was also there to introduce me to a lot of good food. We ate, we drank a lot within a college student budget lah basically. Until pada saat itu di Amerika. Restoran paling or chef yang paling terkenal itu Thomas Keller, obviously.
French
Laundry. So back in the days, gue sama Anthony, we decided to save up. Let's go to Napa Valley, drink as much as we can, while also eat at Thomas Keller's French Laundry.
Buat yang belum tahu, Napa Valley itu area wine lah, wine
Yes,
country.
yes.
Ya kan banyak wine.
Yeah, a lot of good restaurants as well. But back in the day, obviously with the college student budget, we didn't really, eat at a lot of like fine dining restaurants yet, gitu. But we thought like, you know what? Let's go together. Like we're brothers. Let's save some money. Let's go to Napa Valley. Let's experience this Thomas Keller motherfucker, gitu kan. Jadi kayak, yaudah, we went to Napa Valley. We went to French Laundry. We hated it. Kita nggak suka. Ya, kita until this day we still bitch about that place.
My God.
We still talk about how much we hated our experience, how much we thought it was bullshit, how much we didn't like it basically.
Why?
Couple of reasons. Ini hipotesa doang.
Iya, biasa kan kalau abis makan di restoran kayak gitu kita analisa kan, analisa sendiri.
Yeah, I mean, jadi why didn't we like it? I mean, first possibility, gue gak tahu yang mana yang bener, gue cuman kayak lay out,
sharing your experience aja.
lay out the probabilities or possibilities why we didn't enjoy it. First, the food was really bad. That could be it, and that's our feeling juga pada saat itu. And even until now, we still bitch about it. It's like, it's shit. Gue cuman ingat satu dish, which is the oysters and pearls, which is probably his most famous dish. Oyster with like caviar on top and sagu. That's one possibility. The food was bad. Second possibility was that actually before we went to French Laundry, we ate some southern barbecue restaurants. Because I think we drank quite a bit. Jadi kayak,
palet lo mungkin
udah fatigue lah, udah capek lah gitu. Jadi, you go there, you also drink wine. And then some people are hungrier when they drink. Jadi kayak, we couldn't wait till French Laundry, so we had to like eat some barbecue before.
Okay.
Probably like an hour before.
Oh my
we
God.
went to the restaurant. So that was probably one mistake. Third reason, maybe we were a bit too drunk when we arrived at French Laundry, so we couldn't really properly analyze the food and like the whole experience. That's another possibility. But the fourth possibility, which I think, in my opinion, is the most plausible reason, is that we didn't have the experience to properly judge those kinds of restaurants.
Belum,
you know what I mean?
Palet lu belum biasa.
Well, we don't know what to appreciate. Gitu kan? Maksudnya kayak, if you go to these restaurants, for the first time, or like, you don't go there, you don't have like a benchmark basically.
Betul.
You don't know what to appreciate gitu kan.
Betul.
You just went there, you heard about the reputation, and then you go there and you're expected to be wowed, but then you weren't.
Lu nggak biasa. Lidah lu nggak tahu rasa yang
what
benar
we appreciate,
gimana
Like there's a plate of, salmon, and then I can get fucking salmon in Jakarta gitu kan. Jadi
Have you been back?
No, I haven't. But one of these days we have to go back again.
Iya, mungkin beda kali.
But the funny thing is like, gua sama Anthony still best friends until now. We went to different paths. Si Anthony setelah experience itu, he vowed to never eat fine dining again. He went, tapi he's still my compass for like street food di Indo. He knows like all the best street foods in Indonesia.
Okay.
Whereas me, I went to the direction of
fine
trying to understand.
Not,
kayak kenapa sih gue nggak suka ini? I'm trying to, get into this world a bit more and try to enjoy it gitu. Was it me or was it the food? Like those kinds of questions inside my head. And so that's why I went to the other path of like trying all these restaurants in an attempt to sort of like understand it more gitu, or try to appreciate it more gitu.
The first time gua makan restoran 3 Michelin itu Le Doyen di Paris, legendary restoran.
Chefnya siapa? Le Square atau?
Belum. Gue lupa, pokoknya sebelum Yannick Aleno. Sekarang kan dipegang Yannick Aleno, legendary chef. Siapa namanya?
Christian Le Square.
Christian Le Square.
Sebelum Aleno.
Iya, gue student in Paris, terus habis itu udah graduate. Gue sama teman-teman gue pengen reward ourselves. So we save up, kayak oke, jangan nongkrong dulu nih 2 minggu, habis itu kita makan. Legendary restaurant 3 Michelin. Soalnya di traktir sekolah tuh cuma kayak 1 Michelin, 2 Michelin gitu kan. Terus kayak kita makan. Gua notice sama teman-teman gue yang dari Asia, we hated the experience. Makan 4 jam, terus habis itu temen gue ada beberapa orang Europe kayak berapa course keluar ngerokok, gue kayak lama banget makanannya. Rasanya sangat-sangat subtle. I remember ada king oyster mushroom dish, pakai apa, kayak textures of mushroom, pakai foam. Pertama kali gue lihat foam di sekolah gue, nggak lihat. Sekolah gue tuh very classic at that time. Le Cordon Bleu. Terus habis itu nggak ada, ini apaan busa? Oh it's a foam gitu segala macam. Terus gue makan, kok nggak ada rasanya gitu kan. apaan sih maksudnya, terus udah makannya mahal banget harganya gitu segala macam. Terus ya itu I couldn't appreciate. Gue lihat temen gue yang udah pengalaman karena dia emang chef fine dining, dia sekolah masak cuma for the certificate. Oh dia appreciate banget the technique, the service, the ambience.
But that's the thing, right? It's like you don't know. Like for me, example pas di French Laundry, we don't know what to look for gitu. Like hobi gue selain makan tuh actually nonton film. Jadi it's a different audience and a different thing to appreciate like independent movies and also like spectacle movies like blockbuster movies like Marvel movies gitu lah. Marvel movies you go in and then you just expect it to be entertained gitu. But independent movies you sort of need to know what to look for gitu. Like the cinematography, the editing,
storytelling,
the directing,
the writing,
segala macam. More subtle things lah gitu. That normal or the majority of normal audiences wouldn't be able to pick up immediately gitu. Or know how to appreciate it gitu. If you're going in expecting explosions and fireworks and segala macam, you're going to be disappointed with like independent movies. The same thing when you go to like fine dining restaurants.
Betul. Gitu kan. I think it's good sih kayak lu sharing begini karena kayak di Indonesia kan lagi naik banget ya F&B-nya. Banyak restoran-restoran yang konsepnya tuh lebih kental, lebih berani. Nggak cuma all day dining as usual with a Negroni bar gitu kan biasanya gitu di Jakarta.
So it's always good to go in to a restaurant, especially with high expectations, with like a sense of humility juga, humbleness gitu lah kayak. I mean,
what are they trying to do?
Maksudnya kayak I know you pay quite a bit more in these kinds of restaurants, but you also need to know what to look for, I guess. If you're expecting just to be wowed immediately, maybe it's not gonna happen gitu.
What the first month gua sekolah masak, gua nungguin, gua ingat banget si chef tuh masak vichyssoise. Itu which is sup tapi dingin guys, enak banget. Terus vichyssoise, terus gua nyobain kan, tawar men. Tawar karena dia bikin vegetable stock gitu segala macam.
Potato and onion.
Tawar banget lah. Sangat-sangat tawar. Terus kayak teman-teman gue kayak gue lihat anjir, gue udah jauh-jauh ke sini, gue udah nontonin si chef masak 1 jam lebih, gue cobain kok tawar, enakan sup merah oma gue di rumah gitu kan. Ya of course dia nggak pakai micin. Gue seumur hidup tiap pagi makan di rumah, makan pasti ada micinnya. Jadi tawar, hambar. Itu gue notice about a month kayak makannya lebih enak nih gitu kan.
But that's the thing kayak micin usually enhancement lo pakai for ingredients yang maybe not that good. But those kinds of restaurants they have like excellent ingredients. Jadi kayak kentangnya udah bagus, bawangnya udah manis banget. So that's what you're trying to look for gitu.
Betul.
That's what you're trying to appreciate gitu. Jadi different there's a disconnect between the expectations and the actual dining experience gitu.
So seberapa sering sih lu makan pada zaman dulu ya? Lu makan kayak lu tinggal di Jakarta, tapi lu keluar negeri makan di mana-mana?
I don't know.
Apa ada schedule-nya atau?
No, cuman I mean pada saat gue tinggal di Indonesia, I guess gue lumayan sering ke Jepang soalnya gue suka banget makan di Jepang gitu. Maybe like twice a year, and then maybe there's like a family vacation somewhere, and then I try to eat as well, and then maybe like I don't know Singapore, someplace close gitu. But sometimes kayak I just want to go out aja gitu and eat out at these kinds of places gitu and try out new things.
Okay, man, please pour the wine again. It's so delicious. Okay, guys, selagi Dwi pouring wine nih, gue mau kasih tahu ke kalian kalau Regency Radio Podcast itu lagi kolaborasi sama Tovin yang baru aja launching aplikasi pertamanya, Tovin App, aplikasi F&B pertama dengan 7 fitur unggulan yang pastinya bisa membuat kalian menjalani bisnis F&B kalian dengan lebih mudah, lebih murah, dan juga lebih efisien. Contohnya apa yang kita bisa beli di Tovin App? Itu mesin kopi, seperti yang di belakang kita. Mesin kopi yang super canggih, Victoria Arduino Eagle One, dan juga grinder Eagle One Prima. Itu kita beli di Tovin App, bisa nawar juga. Dan juga khusus untuk pendengar Regency Radio, ada special promo code RJR Tovin. Kalian masukin promo kodenya dan dapatkan diskon. Download Tovin App sekarang di Play Store dan juga di App Store. Oke bro, dari lu makan fine dining itu semua, mana yang paling kena the best sampai sekarang masih inget? Biasa food kan
I can probably think
have
of
that effect.
I can think of 2 places.
Yeah.
Yang pertama itu Troagro. Pernah dengar nggak? 3 Michelin star.
Apa namanya, sorry?
Troagro.
Oh, Troagro.
Ya.
Oke.
Family business. Ini udah
Yeah.
generation ke-3.
The birth of salmon sorrel.
Exactly.
Sorrel
Yeah,
sauce.
exactly.
Yeah,
Jadi gue pertama kali dengar tentang restoran itu pas gue kuliah. There was like a documentary about that place. Even though waktu itu gue belum makan makanan kayak gini, cuman kayak I was just instantly hooked with that place. Nggak tahu kenapa kayak there's just ada feeling aja sama tempat itu kayak anjing ini tempat kayak keren banget gitu kayak makanannya original banget and there's another charm just because it's a family business that's been passed down for like 3 or 4 generations gitu. So we finally went there for our honeymoon and it was probably one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life.
Lu makan the legendary dish, the salmon sorrel.
Dimasak sama Leo Troagro sendiri.
Okay.
Di kitchennya gue.
How was it? Asam, right? Kayak sorrel is sour.
Yeah, but the sauce, I think it was the sorrel is a good contrast to the sauce and the richness of the salmon. I think. Okay. I thought it was really good. I love it.
Troagro. I cook for them, the family, waktu di Kado.
No way.
Iya.
Lu touch di Kado waktu itu.
Iya, jadi gue di Noma, abis itu gue balik, ada urusan keluarga, terus gue balik lagi, tim Noma bilang kayak, ini kita tuh udah mau tutup tinggal beres-beres, lu sayang banget lu udah keluar duit, lu malah bantu kita beres-beres to move to another place kan. Gue saja lu cari tempat lain biar lu belajar. Gue kerja gue magang di Kado, terus ada itu the Troagro family makan.
Nice.
Terus
That's
kayak
amazing.
gue nggak tahu karena gue di kitchen terus posisi gue rada belakang dekat grill terus kayak abis itu gue bantuin chef grill terus kayak lu tau gak makan lu dimakan siapa tadi tuh? Hah, siapa? The Troagro family. Fuck. Gue mau foto apa tapi ada peraturan lu nggak boleh kita foto.
Of course.
Gue kayak
the whole family tuh.
Iya, the whole family.
Damn.
Terus kita sempet nongkrong bentar gitu. Jadi di Kado ada area, ada small bonfire gitu buat guestnya abis kelar makan mau smoke, mau drink cocktail, bisa hangout. Tapi kalau chef diperbolehkan ke sana asal lu kerjaan lu udah kelar. Kalau masih ada guest ya boleh nongkrong sama guestnya.
Okay, nice.
Jadi kayak di sana dia mungkin dia tahu anak-anak kitchennya pada ngefans sama mereka.
So
jadi mereka stay hangout extra gitu. It was really nice. Terus ada teman kerja gue di sana yang kayak a bit like a food historian. Kayak lu tahu gak mereka tuh yang invent plating katanya. Sebelum itu makanan di tray. Oh shit gitu kan. Gila. Gue always want to.
I mean gue masih pengen banget. Gue baru sekali ke sana. I still really wanna go and maybe take my daughter there.
Terus satu lagi?
Lambroisi.
Ya. Di
Paris. 3 star legend. Bernard Paco.
Gue belum tahu tuh.
It's Place des Vosges kayak in the park gitu lah. He's also a legend gitu. He's a la carte doang, nggak ada tasting menu. All a la carte. Cuman a la carte semua. Wow. Mungkin lo pernah ngeliat yang dish yang apa namanya? Yang ikan pakai caviar. I think he basically made the caviar sauce. Sekarang orang udah banyak banget pakai caviar di dalam sauce. I think they were the first ones.
Namanya apa? Lambroisi.
Chefnya Bernard Paco. Dia punya anak, cuman I guess anaknya nggak terkenal bapaknya. Dia udah tua banget. Dia mau retire. Terakhir kali gue kesana dia bilang mau retire either end of this year atau next year. Terus sekarang yang bakal succeed dia ada dulu salah satu chef dia orang Jepang who was the pate en croûte world champion. Dia kayak murid dia gitulah.
Pate en croûte world champion.
Orang Jepang. As you know orang Jepang.
Orang Jepang tuh bikin
everything
presisi.
Exactly.
Even the food. Apalagi yang kompetisi udah kayak everybody got no chance. Kalau udah yang kayak pate gitu segala macam.
But that's probably one of my other memorable experiences.
Do they know you? Waktu lu walk in reserve apa Dwi nih?
Enggak, kalau Lambroisi no. Kalau Troagro I think so because gue kenal sama dia punya cabang di Tokyo. Gue kenal sama chefnya yang di Tokyo.
How do you meet this guy? Kenapa
I just dined there.
Oke, terus lo kenalan.
And then I think I guess they appreciate people who talk about their food gitu. Maksudnya kayak who talk about food in general gitu. Jadi kayak I mean if I like a place I will tell the chef juga gitu kayak enak banget ngobrol segala macam gitu. Jadi kayak I think I asked the chef Guillaume namanya. Dia actually kerja di Lambrusco juga sebelum di Trogro, so there's like a connection there. Dia ngasih tahu sama the Trogro family pas gue pergi ke Trogro kayak.
Oke.
Ya.
Terus did you bring a camera atau apa waktu
HP.
kan lu kan have nice pictures of the food.
No, semua HP.
Oke.
Gue nggak pakai kamera. Magic of editing.
Okay. Hey guys, kalau kalian enjoy the podcast so far, thank you very much. Dan jangan lupa subscribe di Ray Jensen Radio Podcast. Back to the show. Oke, gue mau balik sedikit ke yang Anthony Bourdain itu. How do you get the job?
So there's actually like a hidden Facebook group.
Oke.
Isinya
Facebook.
Ya maksudnya kayak nggak public, it's private gitu.
Oke.
Jadi kayak cuman orang yang invited baru bisa join grup itu. Isinya tuh it's like all the crazy foodies around the world that people have heard about and people haven't heard about. Jadi maksudnya kayak there are like food academics, there are people who are like just super fucking rich who loves to eat. Ada di situ juga yang gua nggak pernah dengar sebelumnya. A lot of them don't have social media, so you know.
How do you get invited to the?
I was invited by one of the. I don't think I can say names. I think it's a bit ini.
Tapi kenalan gitu.
Yeah. I was invited to join. Dan salah satu di dalam situ ada beberapa orang. Salah satunya tuh si namanya Nathan Thornburg. Dia foundernya Roads and Kingdoms, which is like a media that concentrates on food, on politics, on culture. And pada saat itu ada juga ini, you know, Sander Palatism di Instagram.
Yeah.
He's also in that group.
Okay.
So he referred Nathan to me. He referred me to Nathan about, you know, there's this project in Jakarta going on with Anthony Bourdain and asked if I wanted to be part of it. I was like, fuck yeah, man. I mean, pada saat gue kuliah kan Anthony Bourdain was everyone's hero gitu kan.
Yes.
Like, he was just, you know, introducing people about traveling and eating out and like, you know, experiencing new cultures. Yeah, they needed someone in Jakarta who can just like, you know, introduce Jakarta's food scene.
Kenapa lu bawa ke mie Jawa?
So itu, the concept is 3 perfect dishes in each city.
Okay.
Jadi selain Jakarta ada Ho Chi Minh, ada Tokyo segala macam. Terus gue bingung man, kayak di Jakarta what's the perfect dish buat orang Indonesia gitu. Maksudnya kayak ya semua orang makan gado-gado, nasi padang.
Yeah.
Cuman I thought like something that's a bit more merakyat itu bakmi gitu. Bakmi itu ada macam-macam kan, ada bakmi you know non halal yang pakai babi, ada Indomie yang super duper merakyat. Semua orang makan pasti. Dan something a bit more, I don't know, specific, which is bakmi Jawa gitu. So I thought just to introduce those 3 cultural heritage of bakmi in Indonesia gitu. That's why I brought them to satu bakmi Gang Mangga, which is like non halal di kota. Satu Indomie apa namanya, internet lah, Indomie telur kornet, because that's something that everyone eats gitu. Dan yang terakhir bakmi Jawa, which is specific to the island where we were gitu.
How was it experience meeting him terus kayak?
I mean it's amazing. It's humbling and just meeting a god gitu. So it was really nice.
Cuma 2 orang yang gua nggak kenal terus tapi pas away gua cry bro.
Oh right.
Yeah,
who's the other one?
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, okay.
Kobe Bryant.
It's also very tragic. Gitu.
Yeah. Yang kedua, ya Anthony Bourdain sih. Gue lagi service bro. Gue lagi service di my restaurant, terus partner gue, dia mukanya sedih banget. Gue kayak kenapa? Ada apa bro? Gue di kitchen gini. Kenapa man? What happened? Kayak dia di stress gitu kan. Sini deh gitu. Terus gue liat newsnya gitu. Anthony Bourdain. Gue kayak, shit, gue need a moment after that man.
It was very sad.
Tapi dia very humble I bet.
Very humble, very fun and.
Kalau abis kelar tuh dia hang around atau go?
Tight schedule. Jadi
pasti lah.
Ciao. Yeah. But like he's everyone's hero gitu kan. Jadi kayak just being within the same screen with him gitu, it's just like
oh my god, itu rare.
Gue apaan sih gitu kayak gue kacung di jalanan gitu, cuman bisa share.
That's equivalent to what I said. Ini siapa sih ini orang?
Exactly man. Kayak gue siapa man? Kayak kenapa gue bisa ini satu screen sama Anthony Bourdain gitu. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was.
Udah begitu, kenapa lu nggak pursue career in food sih?
I don't know.
No money?
Maybe. Cuman maksudnya kayak, I mean, it's one of the things that you love so much that you're afraid to fall out of love with. If you struggle with it.
I get what you mean.
I mean, I've heard of struggles and the hardships of being, you know, within the industry gitu. Jadi kayak, you know what, maybe, and a couple of chefs also told me like, I think it's better to stay on that side of the table gitu.
Okay.
Jadi kayak, I took their advice and just like eat out instead of just, creating or do something within the industry gitu.
Iya, maksud gua, I mean with your experience kayak food writer.
Yeah, and then I can imagine as well kayak if
Kayak caption lu tuh niat loh, I mean the right thing dah apa gitu, it's good.
Yeah, I mean that's just melampiaskan apa yang gue merasakan aja gitu. It's actually not that hard if you're being honest. Gitu kan. Maksudnya kayak I'm not trying to make something sensationalist dengan all these buzzwords dan segala macam.
Okay.
Gitu kan. I'm just trying to literally just express what I'm feeling and what I think about places and stuff like that.
Berapa kali you're disappointed with the experience?
A lot. Yeah,
A lot.
Quite a lot. And obviously I don't want to put them down. That's why I don't post them on.
Except Mirazur.
One of them was Mirazur.
Yeah.
One of them was Noma.
Okay. Noma.
Did you know that?
Bro.
Did you know that Noma blocked me? Rene Redzepi blocked me on Instagram.
What?
Yeah. So I went to Noma.
What?
Yeah. Sorry.
Tunggu, Mirazur dulu apa Noma dulu biar timelinenya pas.
Okay, yeah, Mirazur, I can just say like I think that was like at the peak of their
Dia kan
reputation.
number one in the world
Exactly.
waktu itu.
Yeah, exactly. Jadi,
Which is a bit surprise for everybody.
Exactly. Tapi if you know their PR company, it's one of the best F&B PR companies in the world. Then it's no
Okay.
surprise how they got number one. World's 50 best, Asia's 50 best, it's mostly about PR. So if you
Ada
have a good PR, you can be number one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Tapi
So-
kan it's not nice kalau lu udah dapat number one tapi you got exposed.
Yeah, but then again, actually in those posts, gue nggak tag atau put the location of the places of Mirazur. Only those people who know about that place is Mirazur. Knows it's about
Oke,
Mirazur.
soalnya ini dari kacamata orang F&B di Jakarta
Yeah.
ya, yang lagi kerja di resto. Begitu dengar dan ngikutin the news kalau 50 best keluar apa gitu segala macam. Tapi of course not in the circle as deep as you lah gitu kan. Kita orang F&B di Jakarta terus kayak, wah bentar lagi keluar nih 50 best siapa ya. Terus keluar Mirazur.
Ya.
Di kota kecil di Prancis di Menton,
Ya.
ya kan? Which gue tinggal di Prancis lama, gue tahu Menton tuh cuma kalau chef gue ngorder lemon,
Yep.
karena
Menton
terkenal
lemon. Yep.
Menton lemon.
And he's also not French. He's actually Argentinian.
Iya, dia Argentina kan si Mauro Colagreco.
Yes.
Terus Mirazur, Menton, who?
Dude, it's the
Gitu
same
kan?
thing several years ago. Can I speak?
Yes.
Ledoux become number one in Asia.
Iya.
Bangkok.
Heeh.
I don't think anyone in Asia or the world
Expect.
actually thinks that Ledoux is the best restaurant in Asia. I'm
Okay.
sorry to say. Tapi Ledoux and Bangkok Tourism Board jago banget campaignnya.
Oke.
Campaignnya jago banget, inviting everyone around the world
To eat.
to eat there. Dikasih reservasi di J5, do shit other stuff gitu. That's why they're number one, man.
PR work.
100%.
PR work and lobbying.
Nobody believes that they're number one.
Oke.
Nobody.
Bentar, Ledoux in a second.
Yes.
Mirazur.
Yes.
Kita di Indonesia tahu mau research tentang Mirazur gimana? Artikel ntar bahasa Prancis gitu segala macam kan. Kita tahunya dari Instagram lu.
No, but like, I mean, they have 3 stars. They were number one. But also like I told you in the Facebook group, that salah satu fungsi Facebook group itu untuk get recommendations to
Okay.
like up and coming hidden places.
Okay.
Because a lot of the people there don't really like the 50 best, and also like Michelin don't really agree with them and segala macam.
Okay.
So they always try to introduce or try to expose these lesser known restaurants to the people in that group.
Oke.
Gitu. So
Ini dangerous group.
man, you don't know how much gossip, how much news, how much arguments and discussions I've seen in that group.
Iya, iya.
So yeah,
Terus waktu lu ke Mirazur, lu makan, emangnya apa yang lu
it's just normal, man.
rasakan? Cuma
Kayak biasa aja gitu. Kayak,
biasa aja.
I remember there was, tapi gue yang paling kesel banget tau gak? Kayak dikasih roti, ya sure roti bikin sendiri, cool. Terus dikasih olive oil, infused sama lemon, menthol lemon obviously,
Yeah.
cool. Cuman abis itu dikasih puisi man di sebelahnya. There's like ada kertas isinya puisi tentang roti. Gue bilang, entai lah nih restoran. What am I supposed to do with that poem, man? What am I supposed to do? Should I cry while I eat this bread?
Somebody reads it to you, the server?
No. It was just like, here's your bread. olive oil infused with lemon. Here's your fucking poem. Gitu. Terus kayak, what am I supposed to do with it, man? Like, does it add anything to the food that I'm about to ingest? No. Terus kayak,
the experience.
It's pretentious as fuck. Gitu.
Okay.
Kayak,
And you don't like that?
I know, I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it. I think when there's too much storytelling, there's too much, these kinds of gimmicks. It's not about the food anymore. It's about the ego. Ngerti nggak? It's about stroking the chef's dick gitu.
Agree.
Ngerti nggak?
Oh shit.
Kalau misalnya
Agree.
terlalu banyak kayak if you explain the food more than 10-15 seconds, then it's about you, not the food. Ngerti nggak?
Iya, gua recently makan bareng chef-chef hebat Indonesia di this restaurant.
Spill.
40 minutes storytelling about the kayak gue lihat ini udah 40 menit first course belum itu. No. Jadi dari kita duduk, the server storytell about the restaurant, abis itu udah oke, kita ready for the first course dong.
Yeah.
Gue ngerti lah kalau misalnya kita chef kita datang pengen dikasih tau dulu konsepnya
Sure.
Maybe more detailed than the average guest.
Sure.
Kita ngerti. Terus abis itu another server came with the booklet telling about ini supplier kita, the people that work with, ada yang bikin keramik piringnya, ada yang grow heirloom tomatoes di lokal situ gitu segala macam. Terus habis itu udah taruh di buku, kita baca-baca gitu kan. Another server came bring a map. Ingredients kita 100% lokal dari Indonesia, ada yang dari sini, ada yang dari sini. Terus gua kayak ini udah mau setengah aja.
Ada puisi nggak?
Apa? No. Tapi my feelings is a bit unnecessary kalau lo mau ke restoran harus sebegitunya.
And do they do that to all of the guests atau just
nggak tahu?
Oh, okay.
The restaurant we're there on Sunday jadi it's very quiet gitu.
Okay.
Tapi bukan kayak kita digituin apa enggak, tapi lama aja nih sebelum makan lama bener gitu.
Yeah.
Kayak pace-nya jadi slow gitu.
I think the dish itself should tell the story, not from servers and like chefs and stuff like that.
Tapi I think it's good thing yang Noma started doing di mana chefnya explain a
Yeah, sure.
brief
About the dish, but not about
Yeah.
pas gue kecil gue makan bakmi ini bla 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 dan ini poem buat bakmi lo gitu, that kind of stuff. Jadi kayak when that came out, gue udah prejudice lumayan sama tempat itu.
Okay.
But then again, it's like there was one dish which is one of their signature dishes, which I thought was really good, like pigeon gitu, pigeon or quail, one of those. Gitu.
Yeah.
That was fucking amazing, objektif aja gitu. But the other dishes was like
Biasa aja.
Kayak gue inget ada kayak some kind of fish with like a green curry sauce. That I'm pretty sure gue pernah cobain atau merasakan something kayak gitu kayak in a cruise ship or something like that.
Oh
So
man.
it's like ini kayak makanan buffet gitu man gitu. Jadi kayak after all the poems, after all the show that you did, and then you serve us this kind of food.
Tapi mungkin that sometimes happen di yang kayak restoran di daerah negara barat yang trying to add Asian touches.
Ya, 100%.
Iya kan.
Especially
Terus
Japan-
kalau
Japanese
kita yang
cuisine.
makan,
Ya.
ya kan. Jadi ya udah sekarang kan Southeast Asian influence kayak banyak gitu
Yeah,
di mana-mana
for sure,
kan.
For sure. Jadi kayak you're trying to serve Asian curry to like an Asian dude. Yeah, it's not
Iya, exactly. Gue remember chefnya The Jane ke Jakarta, Nick Brill.
okay.
Terus waktu itu gue di-invite buat masak di Tomorrowland. Tumpengan akhirnya gue di Tomorrowland, gue bikin tumpeng. Tapi the part of the program itu si Nick Brill kesini, gue take him out for 2 days. Ke market, kemana gitu segala macam. Pertama gue bawa dia ke kayak, Ray, we just want to, kayak produser bilang, we just want to kayak your daily activities. Are you sure? Gue bilang gitu kan. Oh iya, daily activities beneran. Oh ya udah, gue bawa dia ke pasar deket sini Puri.
Pasar Puri.
Gue bawa dia ke makan bakmi langganan gue.
Asoy.
Iya, gue bawa dia ke Kopi Taki gitu di Glodok. Terus kayak produser bilang, Ray, we need something crazy. We need something crazy. The produser yang Belgia. Oh ya udah, gue bawa ke Istana Raja Cobra.
Iya bener ular
gitu kan. Wah crazy. Terus gua bawa dia ke waktu itu gue lagi kerja buat Hotel Gunawarman, gue bawa ke restoran Hotel Gunawarman gitu kan. Kayak beda ini tadi udah street food, ini fancy food gitu segala macam. Tapi along the way abis itu dia ngelihat kita lagi di jalan mobil, dia lihat ini kacang rebus. Iya, terus kayak stop. Ray, I want to taste that. Dia belum pernah ke Indonesia.
Okay.
Terus kayak oh ya udah kacang rebus, habis itu gue cobain, dia amazed banget. I don't know, I can steam or boil peanuts gitu. Biasanya cuma datang udah di shell kan,
Cuman
gitu.
bijinya doang apa?
Terus
Kacangnya
kayak
doang.
amazed banget. Terus habis itu waktu gua masak di Tomorrowland, gua ada bikin itu gulai ikan Padang.
Medan Baru style.
Iya, terus dia minta resepnya, terus oh my god this is amazing, terus kayak dia bikin, fast forward a couple of months di The Jane, dia foto ikan red mullet pakai Padang red curry sauce, terus garnishnya pakai kacang rebus.
Asik. Keren.
Iya gitu kayak nih inspired by the trip gitu kan, kayak oh shit gitu.
Oke.
Ya tapi kan maksudnya Southeast Asian sekarang lagi another sexy thing gitu. Ya kan.
For sure. Makanya kayak waktu itu gue nyobain green curry, anjing ini rasanya kayak gue makan di kapal anjir kayak.
Do they reach out abis lu?
No kan gue nggak tag restorannya.
Waktu di situ gimana? Did you talk about it?
No.
Oh no, oke.
Dari poem gue udah kayak anjing males banget. Pokoknya
The
salahnya
poem.
itu puisi itu lah. Gue kayak,
poem, ya.
gue udah males banget pas dapat roti itu kayak anjir lah gue males banget makan.
Karena you feel it's about the chef ego, not about the food.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. What are you supposed to do with the poem while you're eating, man?
Exactly.
Kayak, what does it do if not stroking the ego?
No poem.
No poem.
Jangan kasih puisi.
Ya. Pantun jangan, pantun.
Oh my god, I bet ada lagi nanti.
One of these days, ya.
One of these days is so Indonesian kan pantunnya.
exactly.
Oh my god.
But it works if you're aiming to be in the world's 50 best, Asia's 50 best. I guess it works.
Okay.
But then again, who are you trying to cook for?
Okay. Next ledu.
Ya.
Gua belum pernah makan makanan dia, cuma Thai
Ya.
itu lagi naik banget
Tourismnya jago banget.
di
Tourism board aja.
the food, Thai food
Ya, ya.
itu kan ya the effect of the tourism board,
Tapi lo tahu juga nggak?
which harus dicontoh.
Yeah, exactly. Tapi lo tau nggak tourism board Thailand kayak di Sweden for example, lo orang Thai pengen buka restoran Thai, lo dapat subsidi dari government just to introduce Thai cuisine to a more broader audience.
Exactly.
Keren sih itu, jago banget menurut gue.
Ya katanya kan ada program itu juga kita dengan Spice Up the World katanya.
Ya,
Ya kan?
gitulah.
Tapi the thing is makanan Thailand itu lagi naik banget sekarang.
Ya.
Ini besok gue mau makan nih Chef Johan's restoran barunya yang pengen nyobain, ya
Oke.
kan? Yang namanya dia Thai fokus tapi di grill, which is very exciting. Terus habis itu ada teman-teman gue lagi buka beberapa yang Thai inspired restaurant.
Oke.
Terus mereka trip ke sana.
Oke.
Mereka trip ke sana, of course nyobain ledu dong,
Ya.
ya kan, sama maybe the investor, itu. Semuanya bilang, which ini kayak 4 or 5 people, dari semua dia makan street food, fine dining, bla bla bla, paling disappointed tuh ledu.
Yalah. Tapi lo in a way that's encouraging for restaurants and restaurant owners yang pengen masuk ke dalam list itu, meaning kayak you can serve shit food but you can be number one. Ngerti nggak? Nggak, tapi lo ngerti nggak? Kayak that means there is a technique dan gue bisa. I mean
There's
it's
a
easy.
way.
Gitu. It's easy gitu. Ya lo.
For a marketing guys,
Exactly. Maksudnya kayak ya udah lo. I mean Asia's 50 Best lo tau lah ada banyak academy chairman bla 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 gitu kan.
Iya.
So you just invite them, you smooch them around, bawa ke J5 maybe like supposedly like hard to book dan segala macam.
Iya.
Kiss their asses lah basically. That's one. And then
Tapi
just
isn't that everywhere?
no.
Kayak connection is very important, right?
No, but then it's not something that you actively do. Kayak I don't know, but
Kalau
gua
gua
nggak
tahu,
ya.
kalau
Gua
gua
nggak
tahu Mr. Dwi mau makan di resto, mau balik ke Indo, mau makan di resto gua, I will make sure you have a good time, bro.
Ya, tapi you don't purposely invite them to Thailand, pay for their food, pay for their hotel, treat them to like all these street market tours, get them reservation at J5, give them the best time at your restaurant, blah blah blah. It's different. That's something that you do on purpose with a lot of planning. Kalau misalnya cuman kayak, oh you know orang ini lagi di kota lo mau invite lo, that's different gitu. This is like, ini in collaboration with like tourism board gitu.
Iya dong.
Jadi maksudnya
It
kayak
needs money.
it needs a lot of money kan gitu. So it's not that big of a surprise how they got number one gitu. Cause Thailand kencang banget dan Ledu is like in the middle of that juga gitu. But then again,
I need a drink, bro.
yeah. And it's not them who's only doing that.
Oh no.
A lot of restaurants.
Iya, tapi kan there's a way. Tapi itu knowing that and in the circle obviously, itu kayak diminish kalau kayak ada yang dapat baru masuk list gitu. Does it diminish?
100%. I mean, that's the thing. The list is too powerful in my opinion, especially for the average foodie atau kayak average person gitu. All they see is like, oh shit, there's like a list of 50 best restaurants in Asia, where it's actually 50 most popular restaurant in Indonesia or Asia. Sorry, it's actually the word that's more fitting is popular rather than best gitu. Cuman gara-gara branding mereka udah kuat banget, people think.
I mean, popular doesn't.
I mean, kayak masih gini loh.
Nggak inbox.
Actually, one moment di mana gue merasa kayak list ini tuh kayak sampah banget pada saat gue ke Trogro. Pada saat gue ke situ honeymoon, setelah gue actually makan situ 2 kali. Gue nginep di situ semalam. Gue makan lunch, and then gue makan dinner. Terus both times kayak ini tempat enak banget gitu. And then I just started to wonder, kayak kenapa sih restoran kayak gini nggak ada di list itu? Back then I was still one of the judges gitu. Sekarang gue udah nggak judge ya, just disclaimer gitu. Okay. I don't support them anymore gitu. Cuman back in the days I was still one of the judges. Kayak kenapa sih restoran kayak gini nggak ada di list? Because to me objectively this is one of the best restaurants in the world in my opinion. Tapi mereka sama sekali nggak ada di list itu.
Why?
And then the reason is simple. Kayak not enough. If you know how the list works gitu kan, you need voters. Voters that's been appointed by the academy chair of each region. Gitu
exactly.
Kan? That means not enough voters went to the restaurant. That means that restaurant is not doing
PR
enough
work.
That means that restaurant is not smooching the asses of the voters. Ngerti nggak? Jadi kayak that restaurant yang menurut kau objectively, in my humble opinion, is one of the best in the world, is not on that list. It's simply because they're not doing enough. They're not doing the same level of efforts as like, for example, Ledu.
Tapi they've been through all that kan, punya pasti Michelin udah respected.
But the point is, it's not that they don't care about it. The point is that it's possible to bypass the system. It's possible at best bypass the system, at worst corrupt the system by our people, by our the judges.
Mungkin nggak directly tapi just lobby.
Sure, lobbying is part of PR. Yeah. But you're stroking your own dick if you're lobbying for a place in that list, right? You should just concentrate on your food.
Ada gak in your experience? I mean,
Echebari.
I knew lu judges pasti.
Back in the days, sekarang gue udah nggak.
Yeah. Feeling aja nih kayaknya dia judge.
Back in the days, soalnya I was quite close with the last academy chair gitu.
Okay. Terus ada gak yang with
no PR?
Organic
Asador Echebari.
Okay.
That's, I don't know, world's 50 best number 2, number 3, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's simply because foodies love the place. And foodies are willing to travel there because of the word of mouth.
Gila, Asador Echebari. Kalau sekarang umur gua, let's say 25, I will work there for free, bro.
Yeah, man.
Gila, Asador Echebari. Ada guys di, what's the city?
I don't know, outside of Bilbao, outside of...
In the mountains kan?
Yeah, exactly.
Fokus di grill.
Yeah, just
My
grill.
God.
So no poems, no bullshit, no storytelling. It's just...
The chef kayaknya hates bullshit. Kayak from the documentary and article I read.
He's just focusing on ingredients and cooking them the best way possible. And people love it.
Fuck man, eye-opening.
So it's possible. But then again, when you open a restaurant, you need to decide what kind of restaurant you want to be, right? Do you want to be a restaurant that's good enough for your city, like city level, region level, like Southeast Asia, or like world level? Tapi
kayak contoh. August. Asia 50 best. 46. Gue sebagai orang industri itu efeknya kerasa banget loh.
Ngerti.
And it's a positive effect.
100%. Ngerti. Cuman maksudnya it depends on what you wanna be gitu, ngerti nggak? Do you wanna sell yourself just to be on this list?
Okay.
Because you need to sell a bit of your soul. Ngerti nggak?
No.
I think so. I mean, if you just focus on the food, you can be on the list as well. If you're just excellent, kayak Asadore Cebari gitu. If you're purely excellent,
is it that good?
Yes.
Lu kesana?
Ya. Maksudnya kayak gini loh. Orang-orang nyarinya beda. Ada orang nyarinya storytelling, orang nyarinya poem, orang nyarinya the whole experience.
It depends on the voter dong. Kan food is
exactly.
very subjective.
That's why it's so subjective. That's why the list is bullshit.
Yeah.
Ngerti nggak? It's only, maksudnya gini loh. If you have 50 voters, kalau misalnya semua orang 50 itu pergi ke restoran yang sama, a sample of 100 restaurants, and they vote, that's more reliable. Cuman if which restaurants they go to, depending on their budget, their time, which is more popular, how is it reliable?
Okay. Are you allowed kayak share your experience as a judge? Okay guys, thank you very much for watching the first episode of the podcast sama Dwi Satrio. Nah, keren kan dia itu orangnya. Nah, di part 2 nanti dia akan jabarin lagi dan kita akan berbanding story nih. Karena restoran yang ngeblok dia itu adalah restoran yang gue ngefans banget. Bahkan gue pernah kerja di sana sebentar dan chefnya itu adalah hero gue. Jadi gak bisa ngomong sembarangan bro tentang pahlawan gue. Juga dia akan ngobrolin dan spill banyak tentang restoran-restoran yang ada di list yang katanya gak jujur bayar. Bahkan ada orang Indonesia katanya yang suka nyamar jadi juri atau voter biar bisa dapat makan gratis. Oh my god, okay. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2. See you next time.